Welcome, I'm the DWJ. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video, and if you guys follow my channel for a while, you know I like to put out these DWJ challenges. Basically, a clan boss challenge for you guys to build your team. I create some rules. I say, hey, go try and build a team. See how high a score you can get. You submit that on my Discord, and the top 5 scorers are going to get 500 gems, an epic book, and a void shards. And then out of all the people that submit, I'm going to choose 5 people randomly to also win 500 gems. Now, I didn't do this in August. Personal stuff kind of came up, just didn't get to it. But we're bringing it back for September. And so I'm really excited about this because it's a big, fun challenge that a lot of people tend to get a kick out of. All you have to do is submit your team, the final score basically, and your number. So make sure that you show that. And then if you do that, you're going to be golden and good to go. All you got to do is those 2 things. You submit that on my Discord. It's really easy to find. We have a DWJ challenge channel, and you just click on that. It'll send you to another channel where I try to have the scores hidden so there's no spoilers. And then you just submit your score and your team and your number. And it's important to put your number, otherwise I can't give you the rewards. But that's all we got. So I wanted to do, you guys should have been seeing as I've been talking here, many of the submissions that we got over that July month. And then, of course, I do want to shout out the winners, because that's important to do. Recognize excellence. So the 5 winners that were randomly chosen, and they've already gotten the rewards. We had Rocknot. He put in 35 million damage. Really good number. We had Jiffus, 31 million damage. Really nice, too. We also has Munch Time, another 31 million damage participant. We also had Azka. We got 12 million, and Psy at 9.5 million. All those people were randomly chosen, got 500 gems. Now, that's the thing. Randomly chosen, because the top winners for this challenge were at number 5, we had Varlot at 41 million. Number 4, we had Plazik at 59 million. Number 3 was Eldegrim at 63 million. And number 2, with a 1 key team, was Vorvardi at 72.5, and number 1, short on skills at 79 million damage. Crazy numbers from these guys. The challenge for July was 1 faction. You had to make a team out of 1 faction. In June, we had all women. You had to choose only the ladies. Hot Girl Summer was my go on that. And then in May, we had the best 3-man team to do clan boss. This month, we're going to mix it up a little bit differently. We're not going to stick to just 1 faction, but we are going to limit the champion pool. What I'm going to ask from you guys is to make a faction with non-humans. Non-people is kind of where we're going with. This one's a little bit more nuanced here, right? Because obviously in this game, there's a lot of people that aren't people, right? We have a whole, what do you call it, lizardkin faction. They're people, but they're not people, right? We have demon spawn, where some of them are like people, like Duchess, right? Or Tyrant, for example. And then some of them definitely are not like people, like Tarshan, who you're going to see today. And so basically there's going to be a little bit of mix here. I'm going to let you guys kind of figure it out for yourselves. And I'm going to ask you, don't game the system. That's no fun. But try to choose non-human people. So you want to bring in Draco? Yes, please do. You want to bring in, a couple of interesting kind of, they're like, maybe they're kind of human, maybe not. Well, just lean on the side of, make sure they're not human, right? Like, we want to go really animalistic as much as possible. Real, hellscapey type of champions are fine. There's a lot of range here with this. So I'm not going to limit you to 1 faction or another, but I do want to see something going a little bit outside of the box. So any beast champions that you might want to bring in, this is the time to get those dogs out, right? Terror Beast is raring to go right now. Anybody from the Lizardkin faction, or I would say anybody from the Skinwalkers faction, are totally fine. Maybe there's a couple Ogren that might fit that bill, but mostly they wouldn't, in my opinion. Same thing with Orcs. I don't think any of those would really fit the bill. I think Demon Spawn has a couple that might make it into that list, and that would be somebody I would definitely, another faction I would definitely look at to get some champions out of, but it's going to be a little bit more limited than typical. So I'm going to see if you guys can put these teams together. I'm really excited to see what you guys can do. Now, the rules are simple, right? Like I said, no human type champions, right? So we're going to kind of limit the champion pool in that sense. But one of the things that we can do, I want you to be able to do Ultra Nightmare and I want you to do at least 1 million damage. So the bar's not very high, right? You mostly just need enough champions to be able to compete. But I don't want to see Maneater. I don't want to see Demitha, right? They're way too humanoid for me. I want to see something outside the box. But of course, I'm not going to throw out a challenge without actually participating. So I have a team I put together. I'll be honest, it's not very good, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to run it. We're going to see how this goes and give you guys an example for how to do this. More importantly, this is kind of a new speed tune as well. So I actually took Tarshan, who's a cool champion, but kind of hard to utilize, and I built a speed tune around him. It's a basic one. It's nothing complex, but for those of you that don't have a lot of clan boss options, this might be a good one to look at. So I have this. I have it on the website. By the time you guys see this, it should be up there, so you can check that out as well if that's something you're interested in. I'll have that linked in the pinned comment and description below. I really appreciate you coming by to watch this video, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And of course, if you enjoyed today's music, we have that Soundstripe link down below in the pinned comment description of this video, along with my code DWJ to save yourself 15%. And of course, if you're looking for account work, you can find that on my website, deadwoodjedi.com. All right, this is the team that I'm going to be bringing in, and we've got Tarshan here giving us a bunch of speed boosts. So you got a 20% speed boost on his demonic possession skill and an increased defense buff. So we are going to have increased defense up the full fight. It was very tricky to get him to utilize this so he could keep those up the full fight. It's kind of a complex team, but he's an interesting champion. Doesn't hit super hard. I built him with damage, but I probably wouldn't if I were you. The same way, though, he does some cool things. The increased defense, obviously, the turn meter boost. He also has a weakened debuff on his A2, so that can be really useful for your teams if you need it. And that's kind of the big things with his kit. We've also got Rosin in here. Rosin's going to be our damage dealer, pretty much our only damage dealer, doing a lot of good work for us, getting us a decreased defense in our weekend, as well as hitting really, really hard. We have Scathix in here, who is phenomenal, really, for clan boss. Hadn't really used him before, but he's so good. And it all comes down to his A3 skill. This is the only one that's good for this, but it's a block debuff and a shield for 2 turns. On top of that, it cleanses as well. So the way I have him right now in this team, he's going on a 4-3 ratio, much like Tarshan, but he's going at the top of the turn after the debuff is placed. He's cleansing the affinity debuffs, and then he's putting block debuffs on us for the stun itself. Really interesting champion. I like him a lot. I feel like if you're struggling with affinity, this might be a good champion to look for. On top of that, we've got Aox the Rememberer. Phenomenal champion. This guy's bonkers good. He has poisons in his kit. He has a decreased attack in his kit. He has a heal in his kit. It's all on 3-turn cooldowns, which makes him really usable for clan boss. And then on top of that, he's got this passive ability, which is ridiculously good, where it increases the duration of 2 random debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn when he's attacked, and occurs per hit. So this is automatic. Every time he's hit, he's increasing the duration of 2 debuffs. You don't know which ones, but it's always going to be happening. So against Affinity, where you're getting multi-hit by the clan boss, this is actually really, really strong and help keep that debuff bar very full, which is going to be great for us. It means we'll keep decreased attack, decreased defense, weaken up pretty much for the full fight, which is awesome for us. And then very last, we've got Steel Skull. And Steel Skull here is going on a 4-3 ratio. You guys might know if you follow my channel for a while, I love Steel Skull. One of my favorite champions. One of my first champions that I really utilized, and I was able to get into Ultra Nightmare relying on Steel Skull for her poisons alone. Amazing, amazing champion. But brings an increased defense buff as well as a bunch of heals and that poison on the A1 ability. Really nice champion. Absolutely, absolutely big fan. And really excited to see kind of how this team works together. I feel like there's just a ton of potential with it, honestly. So that's kind of the team we've got going on here. This is the plan. We're going to have increased defense up for the full fight. We have 3 champions going on a 4-3 ratio. Steel Skull, Tarshan, and Scathix, which is kind of complex, but because of Tarshan's turn meter boost, we're actually able to keep the speeds relatively low for most of these champions outside of Tarshan, which is really great. So we'll see what we can do, if we can fill up that debuff bar with poisons, if we can survive any amount of time. We don't have ally protection, we don't have unkillable. It's going to be a little dicey, even with the defense level. Now, I have everybody in stalwart gear, so there's a good chance we're going to survive for a little while, but it's going to be pretty tight. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the run. So one of the things you'll notice, there is no aura on this team. None of the auras here are really going to be helpful for clan boss, so didn't bother with them, honestly. Now I have everybody set up, obviously, for the first attack or the second attack for some of them, but it's going to be a little bit dicey. I do have to manual a little bit right here just to make sure I get the decreased defense from Rosin coming at the right time. That's actually really important. Same with the decreased attack from Aox. Those are the two things I really want to make sure we get going at the proper time. As you can see, we don't have any debuffs up right now, which is less than ideal. And I think everything else should be working on auto at this point. So I'm just going to click auto and let it run. Now, you can see we didn't take any damage, no debuffs on that first time through. It is affinity friendly, this squad, even though we're going against blue affinity. It's not ideal, blue affinity, because Tarshan's green, he's the stun target. Steel Skull's green. They're both going to get hit. I don't know that there is an ideal one for this, to be fair, except maybe red affinity would be perfect for us. But you can see we've got the debuffs up right now, decreased defense and weaken, as well as decreased attack, and they're already getting extended by Aox, which is fabulous. Scathix is absolutely ridiculous in this team. But yeah, you can see Steel Skull's putting up poisons. Aox is going to be putting up poisons with their A1s. We don't have counterattack, which would help with that, obviously, but Aox being able to extend the duration of those debuffs helps a lot to fill up that debuff bar. I'm hopeful by the time that this team dies, we'll actually have a fairly close to full debuff bar. But yeah, you can see Scathix with that cleanse and the block debuffs, plus that shield really helps with the stun, which is really nice. And keeping increased defense on all our champions for the full fight is really productive as well. Now, everybody has a little bit over 3,000 defense. I think 3,300 might be the lowest, so they're built fairly tanky right now. But the HP levels, you know, it kind of varies a little bit. It's not a fully optimized team, not even all the gears rolled up, to be fair, but I think this should be a pretty solid team. We'll see if we can heal up enough, if we can do enough damage to give us any kind of result here at all. Now, the way this team works, Tarshan is going to give us a turn meter boost when he does his A3 skill, increased defense. It comes right after the stun attack, right? So the stun happens, Tarshan takes his first turn, and then he takes a second turn. And on that second turn, he's going last, and the team puts up that increased defense as well as that turn meter boost. And that's what's keeping us fully in sync here. The turn meter boost is allowing everybody to take their turns and stay in order. And because everybody takes only one single turn between the AoEs, that increased defense buff from him is going to last on everybody for both the first AoE and the second AoE, allowing us to be as tanky as possible going through. And that's kind of how this team works. But I'll get off the screen. I'll let you guys watch the rest of this, and we'll come back afterwards and talk about how it works. 13 million. It's like almost a 4K team. Look, I really went out of my way to not use OP champions. I didn't want to use legendaries. I didn't want to bring in Tatura Rhymehide. I didn't want to bring in Draco. Some amazing options for these kinds of teams, right? I wanted to try something a little different, so this was the result I got. But if I was to bring in those champions, I feel like we might have done just a little bit better, just a little bit better. You know, a Jareg could have been really good for a team like this. I'm, of course, naming a few champions that you might want to use yourselves. Anyway, this was really fun and, you know, interesting. I could have brought my Chris skin, but no, we'll try this. Anyway, I'm not disappointed with 13 million. I mean, I'm disappointed. I would have liked to get a lot more, but you know, I feel like this kind of shows, you know, this is kind of back in the day, like, oh, you got to struggling to get there. Now, I mean, I built these guys out. It wasn't like I skimped on them, but it also goes to show how important bringing the proper buffs and debuffs are to your team, right? We didn't have a full debuff bar of poison, so our damage was definitely a lot lower. And you can see nobody did raw damage outside of Rosin, really. You know, Tarshan I had with a lot of crit rate, crit damage, nothing. Everybody had 100% crit rate, nothing. So there's definitely some limitations as far as that goes. But I thought the results were, very interesting. Obviously, you have to bring some damage to get good results. We only lasted like 25 turns or so, nothing spectacular. But I would have hoped we could get a little bit more damage in. And I think with the better affinity, with Steel Skull landing more poisons, maybe that would have happened. It's kind of hard to say, to be fair. But yeah, these are the thought process I go to when I'm building a team like this of like, what can we do? Who can we bring? How can we last a little longer? And I think very clearly, if I had brought in Jareg, that would have done a world of difference as far as making sure that we are surviving longer. Ally protection is huge as far as survival, and that probably could have, come close to doubling our damage by that alone. So there's definitely some alternative ways we could have gone about doing this. Ally protection is so massive. But I'm really interested to see what you guys can do, because obviously it's gonna be tough, right? There's within these factions where you're trying to not use, typical humanoid champions, right? So basically, what I'm saying, guys, no elves, right? No dwarves, no banner lords, no freaking what do you call it? The sacred order people. None of these people, right? I don't care if they got wings. If they look like people, don't bring them in. No Lydias. No cardiels, right? We're gonna try and keep it as unhumanoid as we can. Maybe we'll switch it up next month, do something a little different. But anyway, I thought this was a cool result. Let's go ahead and take a look at the champions real quick. So we can start off by looking at Tarshan here. Obviously, I got him going pretty fast, 238 speed. This is actually a very precise number. It doesn't matter the speed sets. I don't think it's going to affect this, but you do need 238. 237 is too slow, 239 is too fast. So this was kind of tight as far as getting him to use for a clan boss team, and I hadn't really before now. So this is definitely, but to be fair, you can just play around with the numbers. That's kind of what I did to even come up with this. So it's not like this is going to be the only tune that works with him, but this is the one that I found would work with this team in particular. Now, you see he's got good crit rate, good crit damage, some accuracy to land that weaken debuff. His HP is pretty low. I could probably bump that up since we were dying to the AoEs, not the stun. That would be a way to help survive a little bit longer. But in general, it's a pretty decent build. I think the crit damage is kind of a waste on him. He doesn't do a lot of damage anyway, so I don't feel like we really needed to do that. You'll notice I have him in stalwart gear. I have everybody in stalwart gear to try and help survive a little bit longer, which obviously didn't work that great. Next on the list, we've got Rosin Scarhide, who is a beast of a champion. Such a good damage dealer. One of the best, really, in this game. Putting Giant Slayer on him, he's absolutely insane. He didn't have to go very fast, right? We got him at 159 speed, so really slow numbers on this. Decent crit damage at 205. Honestly, that should be considerably higher, but I don't think I have all of his gear fully rolled up, and that probably would make a bit of a difference with that. And his accuracy's good enough to land the debuffs that we want. I've built my Rosins in the past way stronger than this, but this I felt was pretty solid and a good description of what we're getting out of this tune in general. So you can see, yeah, he's not going to be too bad. He did more damage than everybody else on the team, so that's something we're saying. Then we have Scathix, who is absolutely key to making this comp work. I was shocked at how effective Scathix was. 216 speed, also going at the 4-3 ratio, and that's because of that turn meter boost from Tarshan. We can have Scathix go considerably slower. Defense 3,500. HP 38,000. Obviously, we can always bump those numbers. Still, he has the stalwart gear on, and I built some crit damage, some crit rate, and he didn't even do 1,000,000 damage. So you can see, not a strong damage dealing champion, but really good as far as keeping our team alive, cleansing those debuffs, and blocking them. Then we have Aox the Remember, who may be one of the better clan boss champions in this game. If you're struggling there, this might be someone you really want to bring in. Poisons on the A1 ability. It's got decreased attack and decreased crit rate on the A3. Also extends the duration of those buffs and a pretty sizable heal as well on that A2 skill. He's a really, really good champion. 3,800 defense, 35,000 HP. Obviously, a little bit more HP probably would have been good for this. Proper accuracy, and you can see very slow, 155 speed. This is the bottom line as far as the speed for the 2 DPS slots, him and Rosin, but 155, pretty slow. And then, of course, we have Steel Skull, my favorite champion, one of my favorite champions, amazing champion. I always misgender Steel Skull, but absolutely love bringing him into this team. Anyway, he's got about 3,300 defense, and being the first one that died, that's obviously the number that I need to bump up. 39,000 HP, I could bump that up instead. I would have been just as effective, but we got plenty of accuracy, good crit rate, going 215 speed, getting us that 4-3 ratio with him as well. And it's all about the healing with him and that increased defense buff. Poisons on the A1, though, definitely helps. So anyway, that was the team. That was the run. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I kind of did. A lot of times I really like being successful. We all like being successful, but sometimes a failure actually can be more informative than a success. And this one was really informative for me. I got to learn a lot about these champions. I got to see how great Scathix really is, and I think really a top tier champion in this game. You know, I thought Aox was phenomenal as well, and hadn't really played around a lot with him. Tarshan was solid. Definitely not a crazy good champion, but you know, sometimes you're limited in the resources and the champions you have available to you, and I think he's pretty useful in some areas of this game in some ways. Definitely for faction wars, I think Tarshan would be excellent. I think clan boss is a little bit hard to work with, but as you can see, we found a way to do it all the same. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember, go to my Discord, go to the DWJ Challenge channel, and that'll take you to where you can submit your team. It's got to have 5, well, it doesn't have to have 5 champions. It can have as many as you want, but they got to be non-humanoid, and you got to do 1,000,000 damage, and it's got to be on Ultra Nightmare. Give me your UM number with that submission, and you're going to be good to go. Hopefully you can win 500 gems too. So, guys, thanks so much for watching. I look forward to all your submissions. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.